potentially wide receiver 1 at 17.
Yeah.
Gonna lick my lips at that one.
Welcome to another episode of Boom or Bust, the draft show. Max Chadwick alongside Tate, Sigworth, and Nick Merriam. So our second mock draft of the 2022 NFL draft season. We're trying to do it after every month, basically, of football. So we have 3 games down, probably 4 games down when this video actually comes out, but we've only seen the 3 games so far from most prospects. But here's what we think right now, and the order is based off the Super Bowl odds, so you can't get mad at us when your favorite team is picking higher than you'd like them to, purely off DraftKings Super Bowl odds. So get mad at them, not us. Follow complaint to them. Before we start the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Of course, be sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Boom or Bust Draft. We're on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. Check out the merch store below. And please continue supporting us, because support for us is brought to you by this right here. That's right, Manscaped. Attention gamblers of all shapes and sizes. Our friends at Manscaped have a can't-miss bet for you today. The leaders in male grooming just launched their 4th-generation performance package. The betting odds are in your favor when you use a Lawnmower 4.0 on your balls. Across the board, this is the package to get you in the mood for whatever your gambling heart desires. Ready to take the leap to male grooming royalty? 2 million and 3 men worldwide already have. Join the Manscaped movement by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code BOOM or BUST. That is BOOM or BUST, all caps, no spaces, for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Fellas, don't gamble on shaving your balls with the wrong tools. Choose Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. I had a terrible gambling weekend this past weekend, and I didn't use my Manscaped razor before it. So that might be the reason why. I think that's why. Maybe I'm not going to say it's because I don't really know football.
Got to get the luck back.
That's not true. I know football really well. So it was definitely the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. Not using that. Got to use it. So let's go to this mock draft. And like I said, based off draft order, the Super Bowl odds right now off of DraftKings, we split up the teams like we always do. So Tate, the Houston Texans have the number 1 pick in 2022. What quarterback will they be taking to help them get over Deshaun Watson?
I mean, maybe this guy could play quarterback. He's got the skills certainly for it. But with the first overall pick, the Houston Texans are going to take Kyle Hamilton, safety, Notre Dame. We're getting a little spicy off the top here. I think you could rationalize just about, anyone for the Houston Texans here at 1, but I mainly debated between Kayvon Thibodeau, Derek Stingley, and Kyle Hamilton. I felt that Kyle Hamilton is the most, or at least the most guaranteed, is that English? I don't even know, to be the best of the 3, or at least be good. I was close with Thibodeau, but ultimately decided on Kyle. I mean, the combo of athleticism, we've talked about it, range, coverage, tackling, yada, yada, yada. He's going to be the cornerstone of that defense for a long time.
All right, so then that led me to number 2 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I went back and forth here on a couple different guys. We had Derek Stingley, who I do think is the best prospect here, and Evan Neal. Kayvon Thibodeau also I considered, but I actually like the pass rushing situation a little bit in Jacksonville. I think corner and tackle are a little bit more important. And Stingley is a better prospect in my opinion, but the more I think about what Neal is as a prospect, is just an uber athletic guy who I think is a little more refined than we talked about Mekhi Becton in the past. The more I like him, and watching Trevor Lawrence just getting no help, it's
run
terrifying.
For his life.
Like they just have to try and improve that offensive line. It's worse than Burrow last year. Like, it really is. I think this is going to be a big discussion point going to the draft night. So I'm going to give them Evan Neal here too, and I think they need to address the offensive line early and often in this draft.
Yeah, and just to remind people, we're recording this before week 3 of the NFL season. So the draft order is still based off post-week 2 Super Bowl odds right now. And still, if any of these top prospects get hurt in week 4, we didn't know about it. So to just let you know right there. Number 3, the Jets. They're not going to take a quarterback here, so the first quarterback still available because the Jets have Zach Wilson, who hasn't looked good so far. We're definitely not moving on from him after 1 year, especially in this quarterback class. So the Jets are going to take who I think is the best prospect available right here. And it also fits a massive need because the Jets' corners are awful. It is terrible. Their second best corner, or one of their best corners, has the same name as their star running back. So he's the second best Michael Carter on their team right now, and he's not even that good. Bryce Hall, I think, could be okay, but he's not number one corner. Brandon Eccles isn't very good either. They need a superstar corner. They need a lockdown number one corner, and that is Derek Stingley Jr., the corner from LSU. Has had a slow start to the year, but he hasn't really been thrown at, which is a good sign for a corner. So I'm taking Derek Stingley Jr. here to the Jets. I think this is a slam dunk run to the podium type pick for them.
So lines up at 4 now. You maybe could discuss quarterback. I do think they think Jared Goff is like the guy. I do think that they think that's a little bit of a mind mess there. But I'm going Kyer Elam, cornerback,
Ooh.
Florida. Again, a little bit of a spice here. I'm going to keep the spice as long as I can for the sake of content. But he's a dog. This is not just like me making up stuff. He's a baller, ridiculous amount of ball production. He's got 5 interceptions, 18 pass breakups in 23 career games. If my math's correct there, that's one ball thing per game. And he just played very well against John Mechie in Alabama. He's also going to be 20 on draft day. We like that. Kyer Elam going at 4 to the Detroit Lions.
Wow.
All right, so that takes me to number 5, the Cincinnati Bengals. Sneaky good defense in Cincinnati. We're going to make it even better. Kayvon Thibodeau falling to spot at 5. We didn't see a whole lot from him yet this year, but that first half against Fresno State was dominant, and I think if that is what he's going to put on tape this year, if we see more from him and we see more of that, it's intriguing, and he is the edge. He is edge one for me in this class right now. I think it's pretty clear, and the Bengals could use more talent there, and this would be a great fit for them.
So if this holds, I believe this would be the first draft since 2013 that hasn't had a quarterback taken in the first 5 picks. That will end at pick 6 with the Atlanta Falcons. And you may be thinking, okay, now who's QB1? Is it Malik Willis, or is it Matt Corral, or Carson Strong maybe? I'm holding down the fort. Spencer Rattler, number 6 overall, to the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan, I think his career is really, really winding down to a close. Hasn't looked too good so far through 2 weeks. You have the weapons there in Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. Just get a quarterback, man. And I think Spencer Rattler still is the best quarterback in this draft. But, man, every week it's looking closer and closer. So who knows who QB1 will be for me by the end of the year. But as of right now, it's Spencer Rattler. And I like him with Arthur Smith in that offense. Get him in a play-action offense, then he can thrive there. So Spencer Rattler, number 6 to the Falcons.
Got the Giants now, the New York Football Giants here at 7, another team that could go quarterback. I don't hate Daniel Jones. I don't think he's like god awful, like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. So I don't think they go quarterback here. I do think they go Nick Bonito, edge, Oklahoma. 2.5 sacks in 2 games so far. He barely played in the Western Carolina game. He was dominant in 2020. He seems to be maintaining that dominance. We've talked about him a couple of times in the podcast. He needs to add weight. He is pretty skinny, but that's really like the only concern. I know the Giants went Azeez Ojulari in round 2, but they could still upgrade. Their sack production hasn't been good this year, or I don't think last year as well. So it's definitely a position of need for the Giants. So Nick Bonito going to New York.
You again, Tate.
Correct. That's right, folks. It's back-to-back top 10 picks. Get excited. The New York Football Giants via the Chicago Bears have the overall pick. And in mock draft 1.0, I drafted Tyler Linderbaum, I think at like 12 or 11 to the Giants. And guess what, folks? I'm doing it again. Tyler Linderbaum at 8 now to the Giants. He's the best interior offensive lineman in this class, not particularly close. The Giants' offensive line desperately needs help. I think I said the same thing in 1. They need to get help for Saquon and Daniel Jones. He would immediately upgrade that line and be a leader for that team. So, yes, Tyler Linderbaum again to the Giants.
Daniel Jones does not look like the problem for that team early on. I think that I would not be shocked if they didn't go QB with these picks. More difficult team is my Washington football team. Don't really know what's going on with them right now. The better unit of the two looks like their offense, which is just strange. Offensive line in need. This is going to be a tough draft if they don't go QB because, the linemen that are going high are a center, which they don't need, and it's a bunch of edge players they also don't need. And receiver. I guess they could probably. I don't know.
You don't want more edge, Nick?
No, yeah, there's been a big theme this year where I've talked about on my Twitter page about how teams with like a third pass rusher are getting more out of their pass rush. I think rotational guys matters, and losing Ryan Kerrigan probably hurt this team. But ultimately, I think the defense bounces back. I think the offense, isn't going to be great. It hasn't been great. And I think Taylor Heineke's fine, but look, my QB run right now is Matt Corral, and he's on the board. And I'm just going to send him to Washington because I think he has balled out this year. And I think they have made it clear that their goal this offseason is going to be to go get a quarterback for this team, regardless of where they're picking in this draft. And, I think it sets up nicely here, right in the sweet spot for where I would take a quarterback. And I think Matt Corral is the guy at this point.
How quickly would you buy a Matt Corral Washington jersey after this?
I wouldn't, because I don't buy Washington jerseys anymore, because the last three I bought were Sean Taylor and Clinton Portis, who quickly got concussed. And his career was over, and then RG3, who had his knee injury. So I don't buy a Washington jersey.
Okay, so never buy a Washington jersey, never again, basically.
I will say, I put it in our group chat the other day. Can I order a pre-order Matt Corral NFL jersey? I don't care where he goes.
Buy a Washington jersey, Nick.
Tate can buy one. He's allowed one.
I'll buy one instantly.
I'd love
Draft
to see that. Then I can kind of have it by proxy, and it works. It's great.
Is there a team, Tate, that you wouldn't buy if he goes to?
Like the Steelers? The Steelers and maybe the Ravens. I think that's it.
Okay, well, the Steelers are really the only team that could actually take him. So 10, the Eagles, the team actually that Ryan Kerrigan went to. Brandon Graham just ruptured his Achilles. I don't know if that guy, his career might be over, which is so brutal to see. Because Brandon Graham was one of the best, most underrated edge rushers we've had in this generation. I'm going to go with an edge rusher that has freaking exploded this year and has quickly joined Kayvon Thibodeau and Nick Bonito for the top of this edge class. That is Michigan's Aiden Hutchinson, who, if you want to see just how big this explosion was, watch that Washington game, specifically against Jackson Kirkland, their left tackle, who going into the year we had his OT2 behind Evan Neal. He made Jackson Kirkland look like he was playing in high school or something like that. Like he was bodying him every single play. Aiden Hutchinson quickly moved up from like late first round prospect for me to quickly a top 10 prospect. Philly needs an edge rusher. They have Josh Sweat, who I like, but I don't think he's okay. And Ryan Kerrigan's getting up there in age. And like I said, Brandon Graham, who knows how he'll be after rupturing his Achilles. Aiden Hutchinson fills a big need for them, and I love this value at 10 for the Eagles.
Okay, next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not going to do interior offensive line, despite how I usually like to do interior offensive line with the Minnesota Vikings, for the people who have been following the podcast for a while. Instead, I'm going to go Ahmad Gardner, Cincinnati corner. Sauce Gardner has been downright dominant so far this year. He was excellent last year. They need corner desperately. Patrick Peterson's old. Rashad Breeland has been okay. The Jeff Gladney incident, is that Voldemort? Am I allowed to say his name? I don't even know. But yeah, Ahmad Gardner, excellent man coverage. He's physical. He's a great competitor. He's got the similar skill sets to J.C. Horn, who we saw went very high last year. We've talked about it, mentioned it before. He's got to be a little less physical because there's too many penalties at the college level, which doesn't mean good things for the NFL level. But yeah, he's a baller, and I think would be an excellent pick here.
So that leaves me number 12, the Carolina Panthers. I had a little bit of difficulty here because they got a lot of young players on all levels of their defense, except for like linebacker. And then offensively, like it's O-line. Yeah, they really need it. To me, there's not really an offensive lineman here I really love at this point in the draft. And then, they don't really need receivers. Quarterback, Darnold's played well. I don't know. So I end up taking DeMarvin Leal, who is the best player on the board. Just continuing to build up a pass rush. It's looked really good through 2 games. Ultimately, I think it kind of comes back to earth, and it ends up being a good, not great unit this year. But I think if you get a guy like Leal in there who can rotate to multiple positions along that front, you can have a great pass rush there.
So I am up with Philly again via the Miami pick here at 13. And Sam Howell is still on the board. And if this was done maybe 3 weeks ago, I would have been like all over this for Sam Howell. However, Jalen Hurts has looked good through a couple weeks of action. I know it's a very, very, very small sample size. I'm not going to overreact too much to that. I don't know if I believe in Hurts too much yet, but I'm not going to take a quarterback here after what Jalen Hurts has shown me in 2 games. So I'm going to help him out even more by taking back-to-back first-round receivers for them, and actually back-to-back-to-back first-round receivers for them in Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver from Ohio State, who I still think is the top receiver in this draft. I think him with Devontae Smith, that is a recipe for unlimited separation, man. They're going to get open at will in Philadelphia. And I think Jalen Hurts with those guys, if he's not good then, he may never be good. And so I think you give one more year of Jalen Hurts and we'll see. But he's looked good so far through 2 weeks.
All right, Indianapolis Colts. Thank you, Max, for not taking Sam Howell, the pick before. I don't know if you guys saw, but Carson Wentz sprained both of his ankles. Sounds extremely
not good.
Extremely painful. How can you walk? I can't even comprehend. So yes, the Colts are going to take Sam Howell in this mock draft at 14. I think that value is elite. He had that rough start to the season, but in the last 2 games, he started to play very well. Also, has added a rushing dimension to his game. In his first 26 career games, he had 216 career rushing yards. In the last 2 games, he has equaled that exact total. That's a fun fact for you. Check the Twitter. Wow, I tweeted that last weekend. I know. Where could you find it? At Boomer Bust Draft on Twitter. So yes, Sam Howell, he's still thriving in play action, tossing out huge downfield throws. He's got the similar NFL scheme and skills to NFL Baker Mayfield. We've heard the comp before, but yeah, he's got a huge arm, maybe a bit of a runner now. So yeah, I like the Sam Howell to the Colts here.
Leaves me Denver at 15, which this could be an Aaron Rodgers team, but it probably will be, honestly. But we're going to pretend like we don't know that that's happening, and we're going to take Malik Willis at 15 here for Denver and still be Super Bowl contenders, because if you fit Teddy Bridgewater in this offense and this team looks great, guess what? Let's get him a guy with an absolute rocket of an arm, a guy who can create with his legs and run the ball. And I think Malik Willis would be off and running with this Denver roster, which is stacked right now because they're carrying kind of, I don't want to say average QB play because I think Teddy's been excellent, but the Broncos look good. They look really good early on here. They're the kind of the 2-0 team we didn't expect them buying into, and we'll see where they end up. But it's very possible they're not picking this low in the draft.
How about another AFC West team that's looked really good through 2 weeks? I see Las Vegas Raiders 2-0 after beating the Ravens and then the Steelers. I still think so. Casey Hayward's looked really freaking good for them, but he's 32 years old. I don't love Trayvon Mullen. They could use help in the secondary. To Tate, I hate to do it to you, but Damon Arnett looks like a bust already. So I am going to go. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with a corner who I think has really, really emerged this year. And a lot of people loved him going into this year, and I was a little hesitant, but now he's proven that he's a really good prospect. Andrew Booth Jr., the corner from Clemson, got really good feet, really good ball skills. He's a big hitter too. He's become one of the top corners, I think, in this draft, and I think this is a pretty good value for the Raiders at 16, who, by the way, apparently only draft Alabama, Ohio State, or Clemson players. I think they only watch the college football playoff every year. So Andrew Booth Jr., Clemson may make the playoff this year. We'll see. But he does fit that blue blood player that they always go for in the first round, and I think this fits here at 16.
I will say good players usually end up playing in those games, so I don't hate it. Moving over to the New England Patriots at 17, that wide receiver group is still dire, is not much better. Mac Jones is playing pretty solid, I think, maybe surprisingly, considering the wide receiver room. But yeah, wide receivers still need an upgrade. Wide receiver 1 potentially still on the board here. Hello, Chris Olave. Welcome to the mock draft. Like I said, potentially the best wide receiver at 17, I think, is a steal. We can talk about Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave at another time. Chris Olave had 2 monster games and then was held catchless for the first time in like 17 games versus Tulsa this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago now, I guess, when this is released, which is not great. But yes, he's still an elite route runner, has great timing, rhythm. My comp was Terry McLaurin like 2 years ago, and it's probably still my comp. And Terry McLaurin is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So, hey, I kind of like how that looks.
All right, so I got my Steelers here at 18. God, man, the O-line is so bad. And I think they desperately need offensive line talent. So I'm going to go with a guy who is really improved in pass protection, and for my money is the best run blocker in the entire country. And like it or not, I especially do not like it, but the Steelers look like they're going to go to a run-heavy approach in Big Ben's waning days, and even post-Big Ben, they're going to ride Najee Harris. So if you're going to do that, might as well get the best run blocker in the country, because your O-line's not really doing too well hot in run blocking right now. So Cam Ekwonu, the offensive tackle from NC State, his tape is so much, I hate to say fun to watch, but it is fun to watch because he is destroying guys in the run game. Ikem Ekwonu has looked like one of the best offensive tackles in the entire country so far. And I do think he'll be a first-round tackle in the NFL draft. So the Steelers here at 18, I think is a good fit.
Did this to Dallas last time, and I hate to run it back, but I'm going to give him Jordan Battle, the safety from Alabama. Looking at the Dallas defense, it looks improved. Corner could be a position they're looking at. There's not really a corner here I like. I like their edge rushers, actually. Having Parsons as their third guy now when guys get injured, and I think Randy Gregory's played well as their two. I don't think that's going to be a main thing they look for. I think it's going to be fully secondary early on in this draft. They're going to be looking for corners and safeties. Battle has struggled a little bit in the box this year so far, but in terms of coverage, he's held up, and I think a lot of the things that I looked at in terms of his instincts and ability to reroute concepts have gone well from him early, and I continue to think that he is safety too, and would be a boost to a Dallas defense that does play that kind of cover one, cover three defense, and he can kind of hover in the middle of that field.
So I wanted to go Ukwanu here for the Tennessee Titans. Thank you, Max, for that. I really was not expecting you to take him over all the other remaining tackles on the board. So I appreciate that. Would have fit in really well in the Titans' run-heavy scheme. Instead, I'm going to look to the defensive side of the ball. We went the same position in mock 1.0. Adam Anderson out of Georgia. I have talked about him now at least like 4 times on the podcast. I think I need to stop talking about him. He's got speed, bend, athleticism, like everything you want to see from the modern NFL speed edge rusher. He already has like 3 sacks on the year, and based off PFF snap counts, he isn't really playing a huge amount of snaps, which is like downright terrifying. And yeah, I think the Titans, Harold Landry's contract is expiring. Anderson's probably better anyways. So yeah, I think this is a good fit.
I want Georgia to play him more. I don't understand, man.
Our big thing is before the season was that he hadn't really played that much. From what we'd seen, he was really, really good, and he's still not playing that much. But he's still really good.
On defender, God, but he's so electric. Yeah.
You want to talk about fun to watch?
All right, now we get the Saints. Again, a tough team to draft. I think defensively they kind of have some young players at almost every position that are somewhat intriguing. So I would really attack receiver here early in the draft if I was them, unless there's a quarterback they really like, which there isn't at this point. Treylon Burks for me is receiver 3 still. I really like what he's done after the catch early in the season. Kind of struggled initially, but he's starting to get ramp it up a little bit. Had about 127 yards in his last game, 112 of those right to the catch. Guy's built like a running back, can run out of slot, can catch the contested ball. I think there's a lot of intrigue in terms of what he could be at the next level because he is a different type of weapon, and I do believe that different is how you thrive at the NFL level, and he is going to be able to do that at the very least.
So I've got the Los Angeles Chargers here at 22. I was debating taking a corner. There wasn't really one I really wanted to take here, or a receiver, and again, not really one I wanted to take here. But there was a tackle that I wanted to take, and I think getting him with Rashawn Slater would be so much fun because Storm Norton hasn't looked too good. Brian Bulaga is on the IR already, so who knows how long he'll be there. But Kenyon Green, the offensive tackle from Texas A&M, who was a guard, switched to tackle this year and has looked pretty good at tackle and has got unbelievable athleticism as well. I think he, alongside Rashawn Slater, could solidify the bookends of the offensive line for the Chargers for years to come.
Yeah, Ryan Bulaga having all those injury issues, you might continue to have to build that up. Storm Norton ain't holding up. Cardinals at 23. So they've been investing in this front seven. We know they drafted linebackers these last 2 drafts. They obviously already had Chandler Jones. They signed J.J. Watt. I think they're really well set up to bring in another edge player here, have them learn under Watt and Jones while they're still there, and just continue to really push this pass rush, which I think the secondary has played better because of it. Brenton Cox Jr. for me might not be the top edge player on the board, but I think he's the most natural fit into this defense. Is kind of a stand-up edge player who can play in space with the athleticism of Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins, and Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones not as much, but obviously he's a very good pass rusher. This could be a frightening duo for the Cardinals, and I think they will continue to look at that defense and just add talent around that front seven.
So I have the Jets via the Seattle pick from the Jamal Adams trade here at 24. This is a guy that Tate actually is going to take at 25, and I forgot he was available because I thought Tate took him earlier. So I'm sorry, Tate. But Kingsley Enagbare, the edge from South Carolina, who has looked really good so far. I'm not ready to put him in that top 10 like some other people. I think Mike Renner has him in the top 10 right now. But I do think he's a first-round talent, and he has looked really good so far. So giving him to the Jets, who could use some edge rushers, I think is a really good pick for them. Giving them Derek Stingley Jr., Kingsley Enagbare. I mean, Robert Saleh will be very happy with this draft.
That is correct. A defensive coach gets defensive dogs. 25, Max, you kind of stole my pick, took my pick, like you mentioned. Same way in mock 1.0. I think in an ideal world, Jadeveon Clowney plays well, and then we don't re-sign him. He goes off, signs somewhere else. And then we draft an edge in George Karlaftis out of Purdue. Hello, Purdue. Welcome to the first round. Sadly, Rondell Moore, rest in peace. Should have been a first round pick.
Him, you know?
It did.
What a subtle shot at Nick right there.
Yeah, well, welcome Purdue to the first round. Absolute beast, extremely strong bull rusher. He's playing better than I think than if you just look at his numbers right now. He only has 1 sack, but he's played very well in the 3 games so far. He's not the speed rusher like I mentioned Adam Anderson was, but I think he would complement Myles Garrett and bring a different skill set. And also you can move him inside if you want, kind of move him up and down the line and be a versatility guy. So yeah, George Karlaftis to my Cleveland Browns.
Tate's just upset the Browns didn't take him in the first round last year. Mr. Rondale.
Anthony Schwartz dog. Anthony Schwartz
don't
played
compare
well.
Anthony Schwartz to Rondale Moore right now.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Ravens at 26. So we talked about Thayer Munford. I was on record as saying he was a productive but weird player. I think moving him to guard made sense because the guy who has filled in tackle for me, Nicholas Petit-Frere, has played really well. And I do think he is going to be a first-round tackle just the way he's playing right now. The Ravens obviously are struggling up front. I think it goes beyond their tackle. It's in the interior as well. Pass blocking has been a real struggle. Alejandro Villanueva had a good game last week after moving to left tackle, but just right tackle is not working for him. So we'll see if Petit-Frere can work there and fit him in there along next to Ronnie Stanley, as the Ravens really do need that offensive line to work out, considering how run-heavy that offense is.
Yeah, Petit-Frere's looked really good for Ohio State so far. I got the Packers here at 27, and they're finally – so I have no idea if Aaron Rodgers will be on this team, but I'm assuming he will be, which I don't think he actually will be. But they're going to get a receiver. Finally help him out. Drake London, the wide receiver from USC, who is a big contested catch guy. So that obviously is concerning because you don't really want those guys heading into the NFL. But what he does provide more than contested catch ability is that, yes, he's big. He can break tackles, man. And that is something he does very, very well. And I think that will translate to the NFL. Big body receiver at 6'5". I think that's what they're missing in Green Bay alongside Devontae Adams. So if Devontae Adams is staying there, which probably won't happen, but if Aaron Rodgers stays there, probably won't happen. Here's another guy for them right now in Drake London. But we'll see. Maybe this is the guy that replaces Devontae Adams. Obviously not as good, but we'll see.
Yeah, poor Packers fans listening. But Drake London, Amari Rodgers, I like that combo. Moving over to the Dolphins via San Francisco. I'm going Charles Cross, offensive tackle, Mississippi State. He's not a great or very experienced run blocker. In fact, if you look at the PFF snaps breakdown, it's actually comical how few run block snaps he has on his record compared to pass snaps. Thank you, Mississippi State, in your offensive scheme. But when you're looking for Tua protection, I don't think that matters too much, that the lack of run experience is there. But yeah, so that offensive line is bad. Tua needs help. He got carted off. Is he done for the year? I don't even know.
No, it's a few weeks. No, he's only out for this week. Probably next week would be good.
Okay, well he got crushed, and it was a horrible rep.
He said fractured ribs, I think, which they said he could play if he wanted to, but he's not gonna.
Painful.
Oh, weak. Put it down on the weakness.
No, he wants to, but the Dolphins don't want him
to. Anyways, back to it.
Charles, a frisbee player, not a real athlete. Right.
He throws with the wrong hand, and apparently he has weak ribs. Put it down as the weaknesses. Yeah, Charles Cross going to Miami. Back on track. Good pass blocker, helping out Tua for years to come. Thank you. Next.
All right, the Bills. So this is a guy that I kind of wondered why he disappeared from everyone's discussions, because I liked him a lot towards the end of last year. I believe there were discussions if he was going to declare for the draft last season, and he didn't. He kind of disappeared from discussion, but Jordan Davis has really been a kind of a mainstay in this Georgia pass rush lately, and I think if he continues to play the way he has and that Georgia defense continues to play the way he has, he could be ideal two in this draft, I guess, because DeMarvin Leal is technically an interior player, but in terms of a natural interior player, he could fit in there. The Bills right now, team doesn't have a lot of holes. if Josh Allen continues to play the way he's playing right now, maybe quarterback becomes a need. But defensive tackle could be a place they go. And Jordan Davis, I think, as they continue to build up the depth on that pass rush, which has looked really good earlier this year. I think the returns have been great on that depth that they've been building.
They're kind of tied to Josh Allen a little too much now with that contract.
A little bit.
I think they got to ride it out with him.
Now that I've said that, they're probably going to torch Washington this week. Watch.
Bills fans triggered in the comments. Lions second first round pick from the Rams. I'm going George Pickens, wide receiver, Georgia. Is not playing at the moment thanks to a torn ACL, but he is the best available player on my board if alive. Great size and length, great athlete. He's excellent in contested catches, just downfield in general. He's a big play waiting to happen, in my opinion. I thought about safety here, Brandon Joseph, but I think they can get a safety early in the second round. And George Pickens, maybe won't be there. So yeah, George Pickens to the Detroit.
The Bucs are always a terrible team to pick for, man, because it's just like, what do they need? It's really nothing.
That's fair.
Exactly. So a guy who I think is a first round talent and also could fit a need, because Jordan Whitehead is a free agent after this year. So you got Jordan Whitehead there, and Antoine Winfield, who I like a lot, is the other safety. So if Whitehead leaves, I wouldn't hate having Winfield play that free safety role and having, I think, maybe the best box safety, depending on what you want to call Kyle Hamilton. But Jaquan Brisker, my guy from Penn State, who has been lighting it up at Penn State for the last 2-3 years now. He, I think, is one of the top safeties in this draft. And I think if Jordan Whitehead leaves, this will be a great, great pick for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary that is really young and really good. And if Tom Brady keeps playing, man, I mean, this team just keeps building, and they're going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah, I'm glad Max took him too, because I probably wasn't going to do it with the Chiefs. And which, by the way, still kind of shocked the Chiefs are more of a Super Bowl favorite than the Buccaneers, but whatever. The receiver I prefer, George Pickens, at this point, because he doesn't have injuries, and I think it's shown a lot in terms of downfield ability, both contested and ability to separate in terms of his size, and kind of has some physicality to him. Is Romeo Doubs from Nevada. Who has paired up with Carson Strong this year, and they've looked really good early on. Kind of the only two players there that are doing anything for Nevada, and they keep winning, so it works. And the Chiefs obviously need another receiver right now. I think that has been a kind of a problem for them early on. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill obviously are excellent, but beyond that, I don't really think Mecole Hardman is proving to be a mainstay as a wide receiver too in this league at this point. He's more of a guy you want to get touches here and now again. So we'll give the Chiefs dubs to get a little more physicality. They haven't really had at the receiver position. They've had a tight end, but it kind of matches up with Tyreek Hill, gives them a bit of a change up there. And just to throw in an extra one, I do think the Texans go Carson Strong at 33 after that.
I was just going to say the only Nevada player taken in the first round, not Carson Strong. That might be a little bit of shock to some people.
So the Nevada highlights with the Carson Strong QB3 video we did a few whiles back, go check it out after this video. I think there were like 7 or 8 Carson Strong highlight clips that I put in there, and 6 or 7 of them were to Romeo Doubs. Like, that's not a joke, and they were all just bombs downfield.
He's good, man. He's a very underrated. This receiver class underratedly is kind of a mess too. I don't know about as bad as the quarterback class, but it is kind of a mess, and he could emerge in that class. But that's what we got. Our second mock draft. Like I said, we're going to try to do it after the end of every month this college football season. So this is what we got right now. Obviously, a lot has changed from our first mock draft a few weeks ago. Spencer Rattler falling all the way to 6, not even QB1 for Nick or Tate, I believe, right now. I'm still holding it down. But, man, this QB class is weird. Kyle Hamilton, number 1 overall. We never thought we would say it. It's happening now. Nice. Weird. It's getting weird. So this is our number 2 mock draft of the season. Again, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment what your big takeaways are from our mock draft. Comment what video you want us to do next. Follow our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at BoomerBustDraft. Leave a review in our podcast. Check out the website below. Hit our merch store and go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code BOOMORBUST, all caps, no spaces, for 20% off and free shipping. So for Tate Sigworth and Nick Merriam, I'm Max Chadwick. Have a great night.